the way that sports is moving is hopefully the way that healthcare or caring for your health will move as well. Having all these elements together, the measurement, the management, the building, the recovery, the belonging, all of that should be part of healthcare as well. So it's a very good example of where healthcare could be going. And let's hope that it will be going into that direction. Welcome to the Healthism Podcast, a panel discussion on innovations in health and self-care. My name is Christophe Jauquet. I'm a health business expert, author, and professional keynote speaker. And every month or so, I discuss with a panel of experts the positive changes that are shaping our health and happiness. And like last time, for this discussion, we have one of your beloved experts in the panel, which is from Colombia but living in Berlin, digital health expert for startups, Nia Escobar-Kölle.
Guten Dias.
Guten Dias. How
Why
are you
not?
doing?
Very good, very good. Surviving the heat wave that is currently, I think, going all across Europe.
Yeah.
We're
Day 6, day
expecting
7?
temperatures over 40. Yeah, I think it's like day 6, day 7. Honestly,
Yeah.
at this point, we're not counting. This weekend, we're gonna have temperatures over 40 in across Berlin, well, across Germany. So I'm hiding in my kitchen in the dark,
I
essentially.
was. It's funny because yesterday I was calling with a client from Dubai, and I was asking how are you doing. I said, yeah, it's hot in here. It's hot. It's really hot right now in Dubai. And I was like, yeah, what temperature do you have? And he was like, yeah, 37, 38, 39. I was like, yeah, it's exactly the same that we have right now in Belgium, and the humidity is
Mm,
exactly the same. So basically, right now we are having your temperature, but the difference is that he was
I
sitting
see.
in an AC and I was sitting in a room that every day that we had this heat wave went from 24 to 25 and another the day after to
Wow.
26. So right now I'm sitting in a room of 31 degrees and
It's like a
it's not
sauna.
going down. It's like a sauna. I mean, it's probably healthy in some ways, but it's pretty amazing in the sense that our houses here are built to get the cold out to make sure that the cold
Mm,
does not they're isolated really well, but once the heat is
mhm.
inside you don't get it out, and so every day
Yeah.
there's a one temperature that is added to the temperature of
Crazy,
we'll
crazy.
survive. I like
Yeah,
this. I mean, I prefer this than anything else anyway, but
true, true. The last couple of winters of summer, sorry, it was rather cold here, at least in Berlin. That's all I can talk about. So we were complaining we did not have a summer the last 2 summers. And this summer we're getting summer compound. So
wow.
I'm just hoping that I can get like a little AC. Not now because prices also have increased due to demand,
Yeah,
but I'll
sure.
get it maybe in winter for next summer. This is my lesson.
Yeah, wow. Keep us informed. Before we
Mm,
get started, a shout out to our other panelists, Aline Noizet, Dr. Keith Grimes, and Mo Zuina, who could not be here, but who will be joining us for the next one. In this session, we will be talking about sports. We were reflecting upon it up front, you and me, what could be the interesting topic that we both like. And I think sports kind of nailed it. You're a pretty
mhm.
sporty girl these days. Well, have you always been into sports?
Not really. No, interestingly enough, I moved to Berlin 5 years ago, 5 years and a half ago, and I started to do sports back then because I realized I couldn't move my boxes when I was moving. Yeah, I was living in Cologne before, and I didn't have the strength, especially upper body strength. And I thought this is not good. I was early 30s back then, and I just said like, "Oh, come on, in my early 30s, this should be the peak of my health. I cannot do this. Like this makes no sense." And then I started to working out, and now I work out every day, and I became a hybrid rock star. But we'll talk about it.
Okay, pretty
What
pretty
about you? What
interesting.
about you?
I've been very much a sports guy my entire life, like, but massively even. I've been a semi-pro in tennis and a semi-pro in basketball,
Wow.
but I got injured at the age of 13 and I was forced by the coach. I mean, my parents weren't there. It was an exceptional tournament and it was a very important game, but I was injured and the coach forced me to play. The national team was also coming to scout me at that moment. So I really needed to kind of like play and I aggravated my knee. And ever since, I've been really struggling heavily. I mean, since the age of 28, I've had to stop all sports. That included jumping, running, cycling, even. So no more forcing my body, no more going the extra mile, no more pushing myself, which has been very hard if you've been pushing yourself for pretty much 25 years, and then suddenly you can't do anything anymore. So I still do workouts pretty much every day, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but they're pretty boring. They're like Tai Chi type of movements. And I try to run once in a while. I try to cycle. I try to, swim, but I cannot, force myself. If I run, it's really 2 minutes running, 2 minutes walking, 2 minutes running, 2 minutes to not go into the overexhaustion or
Mm,
of the muscles to not, because I'm actually I'm due a new knee since the age of 28, and actually now I'm due 2 knees, so I'm waiting for a knee replacement, or I'm postponing the knee replacement. So yeah, it's for a sports guy, it's pretty hard to then shift your mind from going the extra
mm.
mile to and pushing yourself to no longer ever pushing yourself. Pretty strange.
Yeah, I think we talk a lot about zone two because when you're working out, you basically have from zone zero, which is basically like sleeping, and zone one, which is like walking and light exercise. Zone two is like pushing yourself, but just a little bit. Like you
Yeah,
can still talk, you're comfortable, all the way to zone five, which is like maximum exertion. And I think if you do sports here and you're used to like this maximum exertion or basically zone four, zone two sounds really boring,
it is.
but it has actually the most impact for the cardiovascular system. So you're
Well,
actually taking
I'm
care
not
of yourself,
sure
even if it
though.
doesn't feel like that.
My cardio fitness is pretty bad. Like really bad. So
Mm,
I never go into the I don't build any cardio fitness anymore in the same way that I used to do. So, but anyways, enough about my personal trend in sports, which is going down. But let's look at the trends that are going up in sports. We were talking about how we could approach this because there's so much to be said.
mm,
And we came up with the idea to approach this as, I mean, if I could reach out to people to talk about a certain topic whatsoever, the last line that I send in the mail or the LinkedIn invite is, do you want to share some notes about this? And I think what we will be doing here is maybe just exactly that, share some notes about how we look at sports and what has been changing. And we can, you can start, and I'll follow up with maybe some other things that I've seen, or maybe I will agree,
mm.
maybe I don't agree. And we can go back and forwards and try to have a bit of an overview of everything that we've seen happening in sports for the past years and where this is all going. Deal?
Absolutely. And I think what's exciting, a deal. And I think what's exciting also is that we see how sports is also blending into so many more aspects of our daily life. So it's reconfiguring the understanding of sports and health, which I like.
Yeah, it's driven by one particular, I think, generation, and it's your generation probably. Because in a sense, and maybe we're diving straight into the topic then, but in a sense, I think it was 10 years ago when I was analyzing, just before my first book came out, I was analyzing how different generations deal with the health.
Mm,
Because there's always this thing that, younger generations are focused on their health, the older ones are less. And it's not actually true, but that might, deviate us from our path or discussion here. But what I've noticed really well is that one of the big differences from if you compare millennials to any other generation older than them is that, like my generation, is that we needed to, and we still need to integrate sports into our life. It's like, or add sports to our lives. So it's like the
mm,
one thing that we say, we need to do this. Well, if you look at the millennials, they were one of the first ones to actually have that as a part of their identity and as a part of their life. I mean, this is part of the social media generation, right? So the whole identity that they're building is with sports in it and with some healthiness in it. While my generation,
mm.
I mean, I don't post about when I sport. This is not my natural instinct, anyways. And while I sport every day, right? So,
Mhm, mhm. Well, for us, it's completely the opposite, right? I have my own sports Instagram, which is Nia
right,
does
it's true.
sports.
Yeah.
So I'm sharing everything that I'm doing, including when I'm injured. Like I have been injured since February this year, and I did two Hyrox races, and I still do sports very frequently. And this became sort of part of my life, exactly what you said. And I think it's unfair to say that this is a generational thing because also some of my friends who are my age or fellow millennials or Gen Z, they look at me and they're like, "You're crazy. Why are you doing all this? It makes no sense." But at the same time, I look at them and they're also doing the same. They're just not posting.
But
So
but Do you post to get motivated as well? I mean, is it like the Strava thing? Because
Yeah.
Strava kind of started all of this, right? The oversharing, if I may say so, of all your activities.
Yeah. So I think for me and what I see also from the people I follow is like no one wants to be an influencer, right? Like I when people ask me about my account, I say I'm a fake influencer because I don't I mean if I get free stuff, I'm super happy. I have not received free stuff yet. But I think for me what's important is that I don't think I'm not a professional athlete. I'm never gonna be a professional athlete. I'm never going to have like I do Hyrox, right? And I'm never going to be like top elite 15, maybe, but this is also not my goal. But it's like anyone can do this. And just as I was inspired by some people around me that were having this discipline and this motivation and that were demystifying sports, I want to do that for other people too. And it's funny because I started doing this almost a year ago, so I might have like 800 followers, which is like something, but at the same time, nothing compared to like normal influencers. And people that I know and people that I don't know approach me sometimes and say, "Hey, it's really inspiring to see how you're doing all this." And for me, it's just like it's my normal life, but it's like, "Hey, come do it with me." And I've managed to convince quite a few people to go run with me, to do some high intensity training, to do strength training, and to me, this is the most satisfying thing.
Because you
Yeah,
meet
that
people, right?
people get you meet people, but you also get to bring them into this like sporty side. Because like I said, like no one wants to be this super fit Arnold Schwarzenegger sort of type of person. But it's like, hey, if you can move your boxes when you're moving on your own, or if you can go for a run, or if you can like lift your knees when you're visiting, and play with them a bit longer, that's actually the thing that matters, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, probably. I think there's a fun part of it in it as well, of course.
Mm,
But let's first stick to the identity, because what
mhm,
it is something that we've seen coming up quite a bit with the athleisure wear that suddenly
mhm,
became super popular. So the fact that everyone is now wearing all these, I mean, this is one example and a more recent example, but since about 3 4 years, everybody's wearing these New Balances or these super sporty running shoes. It's been something that's going on in the States for a while, but that to me was mostly related to the fact that they didn't have any clothing style or taste. But right now it is like a thing where everybody's running around in sneakers, and not just any,
mhm,
you know, low key sneaker, but the top notch, super, athletic type of shoes. And
yeah,
the sportswear, which it's almost has it was a lifestyle marker already, so it kind of showed that you were sporty, but it really
mhm,
became more than that. It became into the high end, well, not high end fashion, but the more trendy type of fashion. People started wearing it. Now everybody's wearing it as a
mm,
part of the tribe that you are part of. So this sports athleisure wear really became part of fashion at the same time
yeah.
as well,
I
which
I
which
was
is part of the
reading
identity.
I was reading a McKinsey report from last year that basically said that wellness and health, basically it's a $2 trillion market and is mostly driven by Gen Z and millennials because of discretionary wellness spending. And this includes products like appearance, of course, like physical products, but also fitness, sleep, mindfulness tools, recovery. And I think it's prioritizing comfort and health and just feeling good versus I think I don't know, wearing heels. Of course, like heels can look beautiful, but wearing a sneaker if you're gonna walk for hours is just so much better. So I think consumers, like younger consumers in general, have this trend to they're less willing to cut wellness spending than many other discretionary categories. And I think it's because health for us and for Gen Z perhaps is becoming, like you said, part of our identity and not just like a utilitarian aspect, right? So that's why you see the Lululemons and the Alo Yogas and the New Balance pretty much everywhere, like at the airport, at the office, in conferences. Yeah, and I am a big fan of that because I prefer also comfort, but they can look cool.
Yeah, but I think it's totally right. I think it's funny how people get accustomed to even wearing these comfortable shoes. I mean, if you go to weddings these days, I mean, women, they only wear high heels for an hour and then it's over. It used to be 3 4 hours. It used to be all the way the night through. and it completely changed. Now even men don't even wear any decent shoes anymore. They're all in some sneakers types of stuff, which is okay. But it's part of the identity that we're seeing, and indeed a lot
Mm,
of these Nike Lululemon on is one of the big ones as well
mhm,
right now. They're really playing into that. But I think on top of the just identity part, or maybe even part of that identity part, is the way that they are, and you talked about it as well, is the clubs that arrive around it. You know, the activation clubs, the running clubs, all these types of
mhm,
things that makes people, want to be part of something. It's almost like a social currency, if you will, that is more and more part of it. Belonging to someone. I think there was a one quote that I've seen, or a stat that says that almost 60% do sports primarily for social interaction and connection. And you
mhm,
see all of these brands, and it ties into the identity, of course, because if you're part of that group, you feel that identity and you feel that actually you belong to something. And I think in our society where loneliness and social media and distance and the fake connections that we're having, I think sports is kind of one of the answers to that, you know,
mm.
problem that we're seeing in the world right now.
Yeah. I think community is also part of medicine, right? And if you look into some research in terms of longevity, we see that community and belonging actually come really close to each other because people move actually when the movement is like social, is visible, is also identity based. And we've seen this in communities like in Italy where you have like the blue zones that or in Japan also in blue zones where the people that live the longest actually are the ones that are connected to people within their own communities and their own villages, but also doing physical activities together, right? I was reading this 2025 Strava report and it was emphasizing that, for example, for Gen Z, they're the ones that are driving like the racing, the walking, weight training, multi sport variety sort of activities. And events are actually the key motivation. So we don't only see people running for the sake of meeting each other, but also running with a purpose and or doing physical activity with a purpose. So it's making fitness increasingly social and goal based and not just an individual discipline. And I mean, running clubs, Hyrox team, CrossFit boxes,
Exactly.
cycling groups, paddle leagues, they all work because they solve the most boring but important part of healthcare and activities, which is adherence and discipline. I'm a part of a running club. Run every Thursday, and just the fact that I feel like people are waiting for me, and I'm waiting for people, and I also get to catch up, or people I train Hyrox with, you create the sense of like, okay, we have each other's backs. And it was very cool to see. I was judging also a Hyrox competition here in Berlin a couple of weeks ago. So I was at the station looking and making sure that people that were competing were following the rules. And I found it extraordinary that I was like very emotionally invested in seeing the people that I train with suffer through the race and come to my station because all I just kept telling them was like, "You train for this. I've seen you." And that was very cool. And people were
Super cool.
responding to that. Yeah, they were like, "Yes, you're right. Like, I got this. I'm dying. It's station number 8, but I still move." So I think that the part of like communities, the accountability, the belonging, the shared progress, the emotional reward as well. And it's basically engagement and adherence if we talk about this from a healthcare perspective. So it's giving people a reason to show up.
Yeah, I mean, and as I said, I mean, when I first was a tennis player, I moved into basketball, and
Mhm.
the reason why I stick to basketball more, it was because you have a team. You have a role in the team, you're part of a team,
Mm.
and you show up for each other, right? And when I had to stop playing at 28, first I was very relieved because I was sick and tired of training once or twice a day and not having any weekends. Not I've never done anything in my whole life than just training for basketball. So I was super happy to not to have my weekends and to be able to go out and to be able to do lots of stuff. But after 1 year, it really hit me how much I missed that team and how much I missed being part of something. I needed to find new people, almost like literally. I need to go out, and it was never really like you were part of something as big as a team. And you mentioned the word belonging, and I always talk about aspirations, which is the layer that is just beneath wanting to be healthy and happy. If you translate
Mhm.
healthy and happiness into something more concrete, then you come with these aspirations. And one of those is definitely belonging. If you feel part of a group, you feel healthier. Or if you want to feel healthier, you want to be part of a group. So those are the aspirations. And belonging is definitely a very important one. And one of the things that we see more and more is we both go to a lot of events. And in the
Mhm.
recent 2, 3 years, what you see more and more is these gatherings just outside the events in the morning or in the evening where people get together just to go running together. Sometimes it's an official part of the program. Sometimes it's not an official part of the program. People just meet up. Sometimes I once had, it was, I think, somewhere in the Saudi Arabia, where there was somebody's on stage saying like, you know what? And tonight I'll be running. I'll do a quick run in this area. If anybody wants to join me, please join. And there were 200 people that showed up. 200 people. It
Yeah.
was crazy. I mean, people wanted to, I mean, almost nobody came to the official events, or at least they were half of the people there,
Mhm.
specifically because they all wanted to go hang out. Running in Saudi Arabia is I mean, when it's 40 degrees outside, it's kind of crazy
Not
idea,
recommended. Yeah.
but still almost 200 people went there just to run with him because it was a great keynote speaker. The guy is amazing. But doing that and having such attraction is, it tells you something about people wanting
Mm,
to belong, and sports is a great mean of doing that.
yeah. And I
By the
think
way,
this really matters because loneliness and social isolation, I mean, are now recognized as major public health issues, right? So if we can create those communities and those spaces as informal, let's say prevention and socialization, and this is really prevention because this is a healthcare problem. So if we can create those this prevention communities or infrastructure, I mean, I welcome this more than anything.
yeah, definitely. And I think we need to learn from that and maybe copy some things when we want to do, stuff related to health. If we're working in healthcare, I think we need to find some inspiration from that and try to apply
Mm,
it. Let's see how it goes, because we always make things too a little bit too serious in healthcare, and sports is not always that serious. I mean, one of the things that we saw in recent 2 years, as well as the sports festivals, it's almost like a
mhm.
Hyrox is that as well. But I mean, a sports festival is like, it is not a festival with sports activities, because that is what you've seen as well. So the Coachellas have fitness centers, and the Tomorrowland has a fitness center, and more and more fitness and meditation activities are present at these festivals. But I'm really talking about festivals that are dedicated. Like you have a lineup of musicians. Here you have a lineup of sports classes and sports sessions. This is one of the things that we've seen happening in the past 2 years that probably will grow a little bit more as well, because it's an extension of the running clubs, as you say, but more broader and cooler. And you travel to a place to actually do that.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I
also,
mean, we see. Sorry, just to add into this, because you see, like right now, Hyrox is what everyone has been talking about, but it has also happened with Peloton. That is like this
yeah,
bike that the static bike that you have at home, and then it also becomes a community because you follow your trainers. You also have this with marathons, with ultras, with Ironmans. I mean, I know you're moving more into like the race and the community or the experience around it,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I think it's slowly moving there, with Hyrox coming into the picture. Yeah.
Yeah, well, this hires is run clubs, there's trail crews, there's racket sports, there's
Mhm. Yeah.
surf groups that I mean we have here in Belgium, even if it's not really surf type of weather, but we have a group of women, 40 women that meet every time the wind is good to surf. And so we have all these things. Thermal bathing has become a social, activity, social
Even ice
walking,
bathing as well. Yeah.
ice bathing as well. So everything, it's packaged as something social. And even the gyms in general, who, you go to a gym and you do exercises by yourself. There's some groups classes, right, that's been around for quite a while. But what I've noticed and what I've read left and right is that more and more fitness centers and gyms, they are thinking about how can we turn this into something more of a social ritual.
Mm.
It sounds philosophical, but instead of just going there by yourself when it suits you and just take some weights and do some exercise or sit on a treadmill or whatever, it's really how can we change it, not just with a groups class, but really thinking about how can we change it into something more of a social ritual, not just a training, which I think is an interesting challenge, but is also the reason why we see social clubs linked to gyms, where we see gyms
Mm,
linked to social clubs, or even co-working places have gyms now. My co-working place has a gym, and in that gym, there are people that are organizing stuff for each other. I was even thinking about, having this health enthusiasm workout or whatever, the one
mhm.
that I'm always doing. But it has really this ritual, social ritual in the gym itself to make it less individual.
I love that we're seeing this trend because to me, what it sounds like is how can we make this inclusive, safe in a way, and sustainable, right? And community driven. Especially if you look at spaces like gyms. I even though I do a lot of sports, I'm still intimidated by the gym because I
Yeah, yeah,
see these people that know how to use all these crazy machines, and I'm like, oh, I don't know how this works, and maybe I just like stick to what I know, but it's also demystifying a little bit the spaces and trying to make people feel more comfortable from an inclusion perspective. And I
yeah,
think
yeah.
this is really important as, well, we see an aging population, and I hate to bring this back into what we always talk about, but we see an aging population, we see conversations on menopause and perimenopause, we see,
GLP-1.
people being GLP-1s coming into picture, absolutely. So I think people are developing this consciousness and this awareness of like, okay, sports it needs to come. The question is how does it happen? And this festivals, this social approach, it just makes it a lot more accessible. And I see that also at the gym that the kind of people that are now showing up, and even in classes and in the communities, are a lot of people that are like, oh, it's my first run, or I just started running a couple of weeks ago, or I'm going to do my first Hyrox or my first half marathon, and I'm like, wow, it's really impressive and really inspiring.
Yeah. Talking about the GLP-1s, because I mean,
Mm,
there's a lot of things happening in the gyms and around sports in general as well. I read an article that was called, a bit cheesy, but GLP economy.
mm,
But it was more related to the fact that, I mean, we all know that if you take GLP-1s, if you don't work out enough, if you don't eat enough proteins, you might lose your muscle, you might lose your body composure in general even. And so
mhm,
we see more and more in the States, well, first gyms that add physicians who provide GLP-1 or couldn't prescribe GLP-1s. But
mhm,
then the gym offers an entire package, nutrition and exercise, to
mm,
make sure that people are, aware of what they should be doing when taking GLP-1. And in the States, we're talking 12 to 13% of the population, which is gigantic, right? And in Europe, it's 4 to 5 at this point. It will grow massively. But if all these people need to go to a gym or at least do some exercise, there is some very huge change and potential that we will probably see inside of gyms or inside of groups or in running classes or whatever you might have. Maybe we'll have GLP-1 groups or GLP-1s type of gatherings, whatever it may be. But because we're at the very beginning of that, right? In Europe, it's 4 or 5%, States 12%, and it will probably go up to 20, 30% maybe. Because that is what they expect in the foods. If you look at I saw a trend report by Food Deep Dive that said they expect that 1 in 3 food products that will be sold will be dedicated to GLP-1, or people that are on a GLP-1 at some point in their life. So if we're talking that, if this is the trend for food, you can
mm,
expect something similar for gym as well, because moving and working on your muscle maintenance is as important,
mm.
probably, or definitely, I suppose. So I see a lot of things in sports probably changing in that regard as well.
Yeah, I always I realize, especially with the conversation around GLP-1s and critical weight loss, is that we're actually having this conversation of shifting from weight to function, right? Because for many decades, obesity management was really focused on body mass index, on body weight, on calorie
Exactly.
counting. And now that GLP-1 is coming into the picture, the conversation is increasingly moving towards muscle mass, muscle quality, strength, physical function, metabolic health. So the
Hmm.
question is really becoming, it's not about like how much do you weigh or how much weight have you lost, but it's how strong and how healthy are you? And we know that muscle is actually a key predictive of longevity. There is a landmark study, it's called PURE, that followed roughly 140,000 adults across 17 countries. And researchers found that the grip strength actually predicted an all cause mortality better than blood pressure. And this really surprised a lot of doctors because for every 5 kilo decrease in grip strength, it was associated with 16% higher risk of death. And by the way, when I say this grip strength, it's really like strength of holding things, right?
Hmm.
17% higher cardiovascular mortality, 70% non-cardiovascular mortality, 9% risk higher of stroke. So for some doctors, grip strength is actually becoming a new vital sign.
Yeah. Have you done it,
And
by the
that's
way?
why we no, I haven't done it, but I mean for Hyrox, and I'm sorry to keep coming back to this. One of the stations is walking, holding weights, and I usually do this with 224 kettlebells in well, one in each hand, right? And you
What?
have to
24 kilos?
yeah, and I walk with two of them. Yeah, and the idea is that you have
That's
to walk
probably your own body weight
80
that you're
meters.
weighing. That's
Yeah, it's exactly my body weight.
what?
And I do it with gloves because I have princess hands, but this is the thing that is, functional fitness that I always think like, when will I use this? And then if I go to the groceries and I am shopping, I can carry all my groceries. And I always think like, yeah, Hyrox is giving me this, Hyrox training. So the muscle is not just for the movement, but it's healthy muscle because it's helping me function every day, but is improving my insulin resistance and sensitivity, is storing glucose, is regulating my inflammation. Protecting bone density is also super important. It really supports my immune function. So it's really for me, and when we look into muscle as metabolic tissue and a sign of
Yeah,
health
yeah, yeah.
is that losing most muscle doesn't simply mean becoming weaker, but it's improving. Sorry, it's meaning that you become less metabolically healthy if you have less muscle. Yeah, yeah.
It's funny how you started the podcast by saying, yeah, I couldn't carry my own boxes, and now you
Mm-hmm.
casually slipped in, like very casually. I
224s.
walk around with
Yeah.
224, so you didn't even add the kilograms, not to brag. You just like it's casual for me. It's like 224s, whatever.
It's very interesting because I'm quite petite. Like I'm 160 and I'm weight 50 kilo. And all my life I had this story of, oh, she's so frail, she's so petite, she cannot carry all this. And then I see myself competing and carrying this and doing lunges with like 20 kilo on my back, and I can do it. And mentally, that has also brought a lot of positive impact into my life. And I see this also with people around me who are doing sports, that it changes the way you see yourself and how you also show up in the
Yeah.
world in a
Mm.
way. So yeah, and I want to move into 32s. So 32 kilo kettlebells. I think I can do it, but I need proper shoes that do not sink, and I need to train a bit more. But it's progress.
Yeah, I never worked with heavy weights. Even I think the heaviest kettlebell that I work with is, I think it's 12, and I hardly ever use it because I've always worked on explosivity. So like the very
Hmm,
quick
hmm,
movements and a very slow going back.
hmm.
But I never worked with heavy. It was always pretty strange in the gym when I was standing next to these big muscled up guys, and I was pretty sporty. So you could see my muscles pretty easily. And I was working out with these weights that was 1/4 or 1/5 of what they were using. And I was all looking at me, how do you do this? But it's not always about the weight. It's about how you use the weight as well and what you want to achieve with it, right? So,
Absolutely.
anyways, from GLP-1 we can go two ways. I think we can go more into the medical and longevity, or we could stay with the vanity metrics, 2 times 24 as you wish. So, where do you want to go?
Let's go into longevity. I like the longevity take a lot more.
Okay, okay. We'll come back to the metrics then. Any particular thing you've seen in longevity or in that regards?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think maybe to connect it nicely is that healthcare and fitness, they're catching up with each other, right? Because fitness has always talked about like strength and how much can you lift, and it became more of like perhaps what you mentioned briefly earlier is that um a bit more into the vanity side, not the functional side.
Yeah,
But
true.
we see the functional fitness now coming together and bringing
Totally.
this two concepts. So it's really treating strength and endurance in the long term as preventative medicine. So we see that now the doctors are prescribing sports, and I like it that it's not go and run or go and lift weights, but go and do yoga for flexibility, go and do bar
Stability.
to really Absolutely. So it is increasingly being recommended for healthy aging, diabetes prevention, osteoporosis, cancer recovery, reducing falls. I think this is a case that I see very often, even on social media, which is really interesting. And overall, what we see on the aging population is just preserving independence.
Yeah,
And I don't
autonomy.
know if you know, but like World Health Organization and general most clinical guidelines now recommend at least to have 2 muscle strengthening sessions per week alongside with aerobic activities. And this wasn't always the case.
Yeah,
So
and it kind of
yeah,
makes
I
sense.
think I think we're really focusing more on the on preventative medicine on strength specifically.
Yeah. I wrote the first, so I have 2 articles on my website and in my book as well. I speak about it. Medical gyms, I call them.
Mhm.
The first one I did in 2022, I think, or something. But it's really the gym as a clinic. It's about fitness as medicine. It's about, health support hubs that basically become the gyms. Because if you look at in the 80s, it was about fitness in a sense, the Jane Fonda and so forth. It was really about
Mhm.
fitness, building muscle. And then it kind of moved more into the wellness type of space where it was about mental, but it was about feeling good. It was about those kind of words were thrown around. Right now, we see
Mhm.
more and more healthness. I mean, this funnily enough, there's a gym in Belgium, which is called Gyms, written with a J, and they actually promote everything. They say we moved away from wellness and fitness. We are actually focused on healthness. This is the era of healthness.
Mhm.
Funnily enough, Techno Gym last year as well did a launch of we are moving away from fitness and wellness. We are becoming a healthness company with AI assessment, with precision training, really to make sure that we have this, what they call in the future, clinicalized personalization for training. And so really moving into that space where it is about diagnostics, it's about coaching, it's about recovery, which it's another topic we can talk about. It's about nutrition. And often it's even about, care pathways, saying like, where do we fit the gym and working out and sports into it? And I was at WH Tech in September last year in Dubai. And also, I think in the Global Health Week in Abu Dhabi, there was Technogym was present in a purely healthcare oriented event. And they were one of the first ones to be there ever. And I think what they really sold was the impact of working out on healthcare. And I think that's a very good idea and good evolution to see. Finally, Technogym, who's if you're not familiar with Technogym, is the one that sells the treadmills and so forth to
Mhm.
gyms. Or you could buy them yourself in your home, but they're pretty expensive. And they're really moving into the healthcare space, like not just a small bit, but heavily.
Yeah, I think this really we see health and fitness as no longer like an anti-niche, an anti-aging niche, right? We start
Yeah,
to
yeah.
see, I mean, the new goal is not to live up to 100 because I think most of us will reach quite an advanced age, but it's actually reaching 80, 90, or 100 while remaining functional and independent, right? In a McKinsey report, 60% of consumers actually say that healthy aging is a top priority for them. And we see this also from the awareness of younger generations adopting longevity habits much more earlier than previous generations. So we're no longer, let's say, preparing for retirement, but we're really preparing for healthy aging. And I liked it that you also mentioned Technogym because I see this with eGym, which is also smart training and prevention, or Hinge Health, which is a digital MSK care, and they're building this concept around maintaining muscle, but also preventative health interventions and following up. Everything is based on data, right? And biomarkers and how much weight you're lifting and the quality of the movement and so on. So I think that longevity is really one of the strongest trends that we see that people are very quickly adopting. And we're moving personally that I like longevity perhaps a couple of years ago was really about supplements and
Hmm.
cryotherapy and biohacking and this crazy billionaires putting a lot of money like Brian Johnson into staying healthy. And right now it actually means prevention, doing the right movement, stress management, metabolic health, sleeping, muscle building. So it's things that it simplifies it, but it's really moving consumers into remaining healthy, energetic, and independent. So
Yeah. And I think it's a good way to move forward. And you see it with you mentioned a couple of them, but there's more. There's Equinox, there's Love Life, there's
yeah.
Pornarch, there's like any decent fitness or gym. company is moving into that direction, and
Mhm, mhm,
it will probably move even more into the medical side of things. We've seen it in the past. I think CrossFit was one of the first ones with precision care, which is it was a link with physicians. They also still have the CrossFit Medical Society that explains how
mhm,
CrossFit has an impact on health. The ex-founder of CrossFit has started MedFix. It's actually a way where you can, through exercise, have an impact on your metabolic health. It's also very, very much tied to the medical community. So I think they were a little bit early in the stage. I think right now we see focus on longevity, which is a bit softer than medical, but we probably will
mhm,
move into that medical sphere sooner or later. But in
mhm,
the
and I think we
meantime,
see this also with the wearables, right? Sorry,
I was about to
because
say exact
Aura.
same thing.
Yeah, okay, okay, then you go.
No, no, no. I was trying to make a bridge even because it's not just Aura and Whoop and so forth. Because what we've seen is that
Mhm,
in gyms, the metrics that are being measured are evolving. It's no
mhm,
longer just, your BMI. You mentioned it already before. It's not body composition. It really moves into what is your wellness age, or what is your real age, or what is your biological age, or what is your cardio age. And all these things are really replacing the usual suspects that we used to have in gyms. And exactly as you said, this trend is not only in the gyms, but it's also present with the Whoops, the Auras, the Garmins, the Ultrahumans
mhm.
that are coming up and so forth.
Yeah, the 8
And
sleeps. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I wanted to say, I mean, it also it's like integrating this into our daily lives and also connecting into other ecosystems. So, or for example, I recently got the Gen 4, and now of course I have access to a couple of new features. And with the Gen 4, it's asking me if I want to connect my EH so I can get personalized support from a physician. And I had read about this feature, but having the opportunity to do it, of course, I cannot do it
Was it
because
in
I
Europe
live
you
in
can do that?
Germany. No, 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 because I live in
In
Germany.
the
So,
States?
but the app itself, yeah, yeah, the app itself is allowing me. It's offering me the option to do this. And honestly, if I could, I would give it a shot just out of curiosity to see what happened. But yeah, I mean that what we see is that we're having coaching behavior pretty much in every single sphere on the wearable side. So on Aura is mostly sleep and readiness, on the Whoop is recovery and strain, on Garmin is performance, VO2 max. The Apple Watch is mostly health monitoring.
Mhm.
We also have levels with the continuous glucose monitoring for glucose, and we have 8 sleep that is also doing sleep optimization. So I think technology is also making longevity measurable rather than theoretical, and also optimizing fitness into small stackable habits that people can quickly or easily change, right?
Yeah, and I think we went from, one biomarker, the number of steps that we take every day, to right now, I mean, every new, device that comes onto the market has between 60 to 80 different biomarkers that are measured.
Hmm.
But what do you do with these biomarkers, of course? And what we see more and more is that these biomarkers are being translated into tangible, sometimes scores, because like the energy score and the recovery score, like you mentioned, but more and more it is turning into, with AI, of course, into a coach where you get very concrete advice to related to, what you should be doing with that. If you view 2 max is too low, or if you see that you slept in a certain way, then it will
Mm,
adapt your training or your advice for that specific day. It really becomes less and less about the biomarkers. I mean, it's fancy to say we have 60, 80, 100 biomarkers, but it really becomes about, the relationship that you have with that AI coach or that advice piece that is inside these Whoops, these Auras, these Garments, Ultrahumans, and so forth. I think that is a big change that we are seeing, and it will resonate throughout every sport, pretty much, pretty sure.
yeah. And what I'm really looking forward is as the next challenge for wearables is integration, because we're trusting the wearables, we trust the data that we receive and the
Hmm.
insights that we have. But healthcare, I think, still doesn't do it yet quite well. I mean, doctors still struggle to use the wearable data because data qualities it varies. Systems don't integrate well with AHRs. Let's see how this integration with Aura would work. I will do a little bit of research into that. But in general, clinical validation to a certain extent is inconsistent or is perceived inconsistent by the medical community. So I think in the next couple of years will not be about collecting more data because the data is there, but it's about making wearable data actually clinically actionable on yeah, how they can really have an impact within the official healthcare system and not this meta layer that we're creating with wearables and with fitness and with longevity that sometimes is not directly tied into our healthcare systems, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think the good thing is that in the States, we've seen quite some integrations right now. So Validic is an aggregator, and they're integrating in, I think, Oracle Health or the other big one, Epic. But more and more Aura, Whoop have announced integrations into medical dossiers or making sure that the data is integrated. Now, it kind of makes sense. I've been saying this for years because there's more health data outside of the healthcare system that there is actually
Hmm.
inside of the health. And I'm not talking about slightly more, but like tenfold or thousandfold more probably. And obviously the remark we always hear then is, yeah, it's not labeled. It's not, we're not sure about the quality. We're not sure about when it is
Hmm.
captured. We're not sure about the device, whether it was wearing correctly and so forth. And that's totally true in many ways. But those things are, one, definitely improving. They're evolving. So the quality of the data is definitely going to be growing and better in the next coming years more and more. And the fact that there's already tenfold, a thousandfold, probably maybe a millionfold type of number of data outside of the healthcare system, the real question for healthcare really becomes, what do you do with it? And the biggest issue is definitely physicians right now have not been trained on these longitudinal data and this massive data. They have this one particular measurement that they're doing, and every decision is based on that one particular measurement. So what do you do with all these longitudinal data then? Which is pretty difficult. But at the same time, it is probably the biggest opportunity as well. If you have that much data and people that actually want to do something with it and they are looking for answers about it, because you and me, we've probably been gathering data for 10 years. In the
Hmm.
beginning was like fun, and then it became like very confusing because you want to know more about it. And we're entering in that stage definitely with AI where we expect answers and insights real quick. And this AI health coaching thing is going to be so very much important and so very much impactful, not just on humans but on the healthcare sector as well. Because the main question is not how can a physician deal with these longitudinal data. The question is, how can you even be part of the discussion that is happening or that will be happening between an AI coach and that person that has all these 60, 80, 100 biomarkers that are evaluated every day. Uh,
Hmm.
there's a lot of things happening, and it's driven by sports and gyms and fitness and so forth because people are in that space quite a bit. And there's a lot of things that are technologies that are being shaped right there.
I love that you say this because what I start to think then is like sports is ultimately also enabling personalized medicine, right? Because we're moving from very generic training plans to data-driven adaptation. And I say this not just from the sports perspective, but also from a care perspective, because this mirrors exactly where healthcare wants to go. And I think where we all want it to go, which is personalized, continuous monitoring, predictive, with earlier intervention, and we see that in the fitness landscape is often implemented faster because the consumer feedback loop is just shorter. And I love AI. AI coaching, it has its pros and cons. I know this, but it's
So
becoming a major category, right? Like Strava is offering a Runa. I don't know if you've heard about this, but Runa is like a running app, AI powered, that is providing large social fitness platform with personalized AI generated running plans and coaching for people that want to learn how to run their first 5K in a couple of weeks, or people that want to prepare for a half
makes
marathon or
sense.
10K or a full marathon. All AI driven, all with the data from the wearables. So, and I mean, Whoop is doing the same with selling recovery strength coaching through the subscription, or I selling readiness, sleep, and stress management through the subscription as well with the insights. And I think that the big opportunity that I see for healthcare is that using the sports tech behaviors to support chronic disease prevention, rehab adherence, mental health monitoring, cardiometabolic risk reduction, and in general aging. Because, yeah, despite the consumer fitness data is not always clinically validated, the boundary between wellness claims and medical claims is being contested very often,
Yeah,
especially if we have our data. I mean, I was recently reading an article of a journalist that exported all the data. I cannot remember which wearable it was, but I think it was Garmin or Aura, and took all the data and then fed it to Claude, and then asked Claude to analyze all the trends of like the last year and then got really, really comprehensive feedback, completely personalized based on the biomarkers and the data. So
Totally.
it's really interesting to see how people are taking into their own hands, but also how there is already a visible point in regulatory scrutiny around some of the wearable features. But yeah, let's see. Is sports tech becoming the testing ground for personalized healthcare?
It
Let's
is.
see.
It is. I mean, I have a keynote that I think I brought it the first time on stage, and it's called in 2021, 22 as well. It's called Personal Science, and it's exactly the story that you just brought. And I use the running people that run marathons and so forth as the example, or like really the best example for that. Because, and I do this during my keynotes, my general keynotes as well, is that I always ask people who runs a marathon, and then I'm pretty sure that every single person in the room does it entirely or exactly differently, because
Mhm.
the way that they train, the way that they sleep, the way that they eat, the shoes that they're wearing, the clothing that they're wearing, the timing of their training, what they eat before, what they eat during the race, how much they lose salt or sugar, whatever,
Mm.
during the race whatsoever. Running has become such a personal science, thanks to all of these devices, thanks to all of these AI coaches in the meantime, that it has really changed the expectation of people in such way that even if healthcare doesn't evolve the way that you say it should be or could be, people will demand it, because the entire
Mm.
life is will be personal science. We no longer will accept, if you will, the average study says that on 50,000 people, the average patient does this and this and that. No, we really want to have as much as possible data and insights into our own personal health. And N is one, we always say, personalized medication, personalized health treatments, or health management even, will have to become the norm, because the whole world will become NS1. So I am fully in line with you in that regard, and personal science will be the core behind it. And I think there's one more thread before we close out the session that
Mhm.
I want to share. Maybe you have one more too. Do you still have one?
No, I'm good with my trend, so all yours.
Okay. Because I think we kind of touched upon it, and you probably will say, ah, yeah. But it's a fact that sports, fitness, exercising is moving away from the gym itself, and it's moving into the homes, the hotels, the retail. Basically, the daily life infrastructure is the cities. I mean,
Mhm.
more and more what we see is that being able to exercise while traveling, being able to exercise in the city if you live in a city, being able to exercise at home. You see, Lululemon, their flagship store, has a possibility to exercise in their store. Airports, you have more and more gyms that are moving into airports, while the lounges then. So we see exercising as being part of daily life infrastructure more and more, where it really is becoming part of life more than ever. I think that was the one trend that we still needed to touch upon.
I love it. I love it. And I don't know if you've seen it, but Strava is releasing like a year in sport, and they have their studies and basically share all the information. And for 2025, they actually saw a spike in running, like running outdoors, because you can also check indoor running or outdoor running. And they saw a significant increase in, I don't remember the number, but they saw a significant increase in running outdoors, and we also see that race participation also reached record levels, with 1 in 3 Gen Z signing up in 2025 for their first race ever. So it's, I think, yeah, being outdoors and traveling and taking part of sports outside the gym, like the gym is not necessary. You can also exercise at home. You can just go out and run, and you can find a community.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think
And
Aline mentioned it last time that Barcelona now has this sports prescription with
yeah.
814 different or 800 about activities. So it's part of the medical, it's part of daily life. They really want it to be to have it integrated in your life, whether it's at your home, even cars. I mean, Jaguar has this fun feature now that if in some cars that's it's tricks your brain into moving your butt, if you will. So you actually do some exercises while you're sitting in the car. So it's basically pretty much everywhere. There's tourism. There's a lot of green spaces, workout spaces, ergonomic design at work, in co-working spaces. social clips,
Mm,
whatever. It's really becoming part of daily.
I'm a big fan of that, of sports becoming social medicine in a way, or like part of our social life.
Well, we kind of have to because we otherwise we won't be moving anything anymore and never anymore, right? Because we used to hunt for food. Right now, food is delivered to our door. We used to go to work. Now, right now, we work from home. So we kind of need to do a lot of stuff to get back a little bit. Very good. Thank you for this discussion. I think I still had this one kind of wrap up because I felt where this was going to. And when I asked AI on how to kind of summarize where sports is going, what I really liked it is that it came up with the word self-directed health stack. So it's basically what it says is that we are going to a place where people are more and more running their own health.
Hmm.
Instead of just receiving it from an institution or a provider, we can do it ourselves. And I think the way that we go about sports and the way that it is, I mean, everything that we talked about, let me really grab my list of trends here. The fact that it's GLP-1 is becoming a full care ecosystem. Gyms are evolving into medical gyms. Measurements is moving from pure vanity metrics to really clinical proof and coaching. We're talking about community. We're talking about personalized, maybe more gentle approaches of sports where it's not only about performance but also about just exercising and being together. It's moving into the homes, the hotel, the retail, daily life infrastructure. It's part of your identity. It's part of all the tools that we're using every day, and it's becoming more and more medicalized. Well, all of that kind of hints to the fact that the way that health sports is moving is hopefully the way that healthcare or caring for your health will move as well. Having all these elements together, the measurement, the management, the building, the recovery, the belonging, all of that should be part of
Mm,
healthcare as well. So it's a very good example of where healthcare could be going. And let's hope that it will be going into that direction.
absolutely. It's on us also to push this as a part of the industry, as active people, and also as fellow sports lovers.
Indeed. Well, thank you, Nia, for this discussion. Time to wrap up the podcast. And thank you for listening. If you like the show, hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform and do give him some like. I've noticed that we have only 5 stars out of 5 on every platform, so that's a good thing, but keep them coming because it helps the algorithm, of course. My name is Christophe Jauquet. I was here together with Nia Escobar-Kölle, and we are part of the Health Enthusiasm panel. I would love to see you again very soon for some more Health Enthusiasm. Ciao.